All right, thank you, Matt, and welcome everyone. I just wanted to give you a little bit of an overview about OSV, kind of who we are, what we do at a very high level. I don't want to take a lot of time here. Also recognizing that some of you may not be as familiar with OSV, and some of you might be longtime friends and business partners that we've been helping for a long time. So, at very high level, we're in our 112th year of operation. As Matt's showing here, founded by Father John Francis Knoll in Huntington, Indiana, kind of evolved from a publishing company, very large publishing company, into things like offering envelopes, offertory solutions, now parish solutions, and more recently, software and technology. So we have about 335 team members that make up OSV all across the United States. Couple more recent events I wanted to make you aware of. We're a major financial sponsor for the National Eucharistic Congress. Hopefully, if you're able, planning to be there in July in Indianapolis. If you are, stop by our booth. It'll be hard to miss. I think in Lucas Oil Stadium and the Indiana Convention Center both. We'd love to say hi to you there. So as the Eucharistic Congress happens and that big event takes place, we've been a major sponsor all along the way. The other one I wanted to make you aware of, in case you're not, is OSV News. You're all, many of you, I'm sure, are aware at a diocesan level, especially of the Catholic News Service. About a year and a half ago now,
Yeah, disaster.
we kind of uh, came along and assumed that. And so now that's OSV News wire service and serving many diocesan communication departments, directors, and their teams, and then also some secular news outlets. So OSV News, if you're not familiar with that, please check it out. Um, since the beginning, we've existed to really just serve the church. I think that was Father Knoll's earliest simple mission statement or statement of mission. Now it's to champion the Catholic Church, and so we are interested in anything that actually just furthers the business of the diocese, the ministry of the diocese. Financing options, funding solutions, and also, like I said, technology. So in total, we serve about 15,000 of the 17,000 parishes in the United States. I think we serve every diocese in the United States with some form of product or service. Uh, we would, obviously love to grow our relationship with each one of you here, but we're also here just to be a resource to learn with, learn from each other, and support each other. One uh, activity that we've been involved in for about almost 3 years now that doesn't get mentioned as much, but might be of interest to you, is we've been funding a project to basically present the catechism in with the art of storytelling and animated video. And that project is called Real Plus True. It can be found at realtrue.org. So you might be interested in that just from a uh, maybe religious ed Catholic school. You might pass that on to some of your colleagues at the diocese. We've been involved in online giving, as some of you may know, for actually since I think about 2009, so quite a while. In more recent years, we've begun investing heavily in church manager, parish management software. Just want to make you aware also, again, at a diocesan level, that we're continuing that investment to bring out diocesan features. Many of those would be advanced reporting, uh, and so keep your eyes and ears open for that. We'll obviously share as we release those critical features that a diocese would need to use our parish management software. Last but not least, I wanted to tell you about expanded print and finishing capabilities. We're continuing to make a significant investment in high quality, full color, high speed digital printing with finishing, intelligent mail inserters, document matching, etc. So I think just this summer we'll have two brand new machines coming online that are really going to expand our capabilities in the area of things like diocesan appeals, diocesan capital campaigns. Of course, we do a lot of parish increased offertory programs, parish capital campaigns, and then school annual fund for Catholic schools. So we're really trying to serve, I guess, in every way, every place that we can. We know that we can't be everything to everyone, but those areas we do choose to serve. We also use kind of a lean philosophy, kind of came out of the Toyota production system, if you're familiar with that, where we're implementing continuous improvement tools continuously. We've been doing that for 21 years. So we process map business process. We make physical changes to the facility. We've applied that to everything from our human resources team to our finance and accounting offices. So again, continuous improvement is kind of part of the core of OSV, how we operate, how we try to serve you, both at the diocese, parish, and schools. So with that, I want to thank you for being here. This is our sixth gathering like this. So some of you may have been at all six, and if so, thank you for being here again. And if not, it's great to have you here today. And anything we can do, we're here to serve you. We're here to champion the Catholic Church. And you can learn more today, obviously, and then beyond. We'd love to have deeper conversations with you about how we could be an important business partner for you moving forward. So thank you.
Thanks, Kyle. We appreciate those words. And again, as Kyle mentioned, this is our sixth annual. We appreciate everybody spending time with us. It is, a great networking opportunity and to see the growth. I've been with OSV about a decade. Just to see where we've come in this last decade has been amazing. Some of those things can be seen in our impact report. Hopefully most of you have gotten a copy of this. If not, let us know. We do have a digital version that we can send you. If you'd like that link, I can put that in the chat to make sure everybody's got a copy of it digitally, just to really highlight all the different areas that OSV is trying to be the best that we can be to help everybody champion their efforts. So with that being said, I am going to switch gears here, and we're going to go into appeal strategies. We're going to have Joni Lewis and Alexis go through kind of what we've seen, what we've put together, so you can see some samples of some successes and some interesting new approaches to the diocesan appeal. And then after that, we're going to have Robert Watts from the Diocese of Lexington talk a little bit about his journey, where he's been, what he's done, what he's been able to accomplish in his short time in the Diocese of Lexington. And then we're going to go into a breakout session. So we'll give you time. So if you have thoughts, jot those down, keep those handy. If we don't get to them in a breakout session, we're going to keep that to about 15 or 20 minutes, just in the essence of time. Tomorrow afternoon, we're going to have an open forum. So if some of those questions or some ideas come up that you want to see examples of or would like to post to the entire audience, let me know. You can email those to me or one of our representatives that are here if you know their email addresses right away. We'll go through those and we'll have that during our open discussion tomorrow, where we can really get some really good networking happening. So with that being said, I'm going to leave this graphic up here just a second while I bring up the appeal presentation. There we go. Is that coming through just fine now?
It is, Matt.
Great. Well, without further ado, here's Joni Lewis.
Hey, thanks, Matt. Thanks, everyone, for joining again. So many of our friends are here, some new faces. I'd love to meet new people. So there's some people here I don't know. So I'm looking forward to hopefully getting put in a room with you so I could say hello personally. We know that everybody's always interested in what is everybody doing for their appeal? what's new, show us some new ideas, some new approaches. I'm so excited for you to hear from Robert today. I have been telling all the dioceses that I work with, you have to attend this first session if you don't attend anything else, because you have to hear about how Robert I'm not even going to steal his thunder, but what he's doing in Lexington, because it is so very exciting. But before we jump into that, I just want to take you a little bit through, because we always get told that people don't know what we do at OSV. So some of you who may not have encountered us in regards to our appeal services, want to give you a little bit of a snapshot of OSV and the difference that you're going to receive when you partner with us for your appeals versus just using a printer and a mail house. You're really, truly, I just had an archdiocese at OSV a couple weeks ago, and the gentleman said, I feel like if we move forward with you, like I've got a small army of people behind me. And it's true, you do. We're truly an extension of your offices. So what makes us different is that, first of all, as Kyle pointed out, that we are uniquely Catholic. For 112 years, we know the church, we know your audience, we know what you're trying to do. We know what kind of language needs used. We are the professional team that we do that consistent hard work alongside of you when it comes to fundraising. And truly, that's what makes us all successful. It's not the new shiny thing that we're always kind of looking towards. It's the consistent hard work, digging our heels in, rolling our sleeves up. And that's what we want to walk alongside you. So, we are an all-inclusive service. That is from the trenches, when it's like, what's the theme going to be for next year? All the way through your pledge redemption, your thank you, all the solicitation, engagement mailings, your tax mailing, every part of it. We're here through the entire process. Along with it, you're getting all those great things that you need, which is list cleansing, data services, and the ability that, because we're already putting out over 4 million pieces of mail a month, even though we're located in the middle of the country in Huntington, Indiana, does not mean that we can't fulfill mailings anywhere across the United States. One of our appeal customers is Honolulu. We work it out and figure it out. And it's actually, we already have it figured out, because we're doing so much mail across the country, that everything will deliver on time when you want it to arrive in people's homes. So that makes us turnkey when it comes to partnering with us. And as we said, that's what our mission is, to champion you, the diocese, in this important, vital ministerial effort to support the ministries at your diocese. Matt, if you don't mind. So with that small army you're going to get a consultant alongside of you. All of us consultants are here on the call today. You're going to get a coordinator who is literally dotting the I's, crossing the T's, making sure that everything is being put together appropriately and scheduled with our production facility. You're going to get someone from if not a couple people from our graphic design team, a bilingual copywriter and editor. She's fantastic. She writes for over 20 bishops, and she's bilingual. So all that translation is going to come from us, as well as our postal delivery assurance team. Again, we know how critical that these mailings have to arrive at a certain time. They're going to, because we're going to track and make sure that it does. We don't miss dates. You're also getting our fulfillment services. So those parish kits and the picking and packing and assurance of delivery of those is going to happen, as well as some new services from OSV, which is our creative services team, which you're going to hear about in just a few minutes. So Matt, if you don't mind advancing, here's some slides. Some people have gotten the opportunity to step foot in our facility. By the way, it is an open opportunity. Anytime anyone would be open to coming and visiting us, we would love to have you. We love to have guests. We want you to see our state-of-the-art facility. We spend usually about an hour and a half to 2 hours through our plant floor and taking a tour of our facility, because people are just so very interested in all that we can do. And it is an opportunity to get that full 360 view of OSV and what really we are. Here's just a couple slides of our diocesan partners and some dioceses and archdioceses that we're serving across the United States. Right now, we're facilitating about 20 appeals. And then we have other dioceses that come to us for some additional services, but maybe not the entire appeal. You don't have to come to OSV with your entire appeal. We want to serve you. If it may be just for your annual report or whatever kind of special mailing it may be, we want to be there to service you with that. When it comes to appeals, we know from beginning to end, you're going to need your kits. You know, there's work to be done and associated with your major gifts, invitation mailings, support materials at your gatherings, worship aids, all of those good things we're very familiar with and can produce for you. Every single thing is custom. We know that every single diocese is different. During that solicitation phase, you're going to have your first ask, your second ask, sometimes a third and fourth ask. You're going to have your thank yous, your pledge reminders, your tax letters, different greeting cards and outreach and non-ask touch points from your bishop and from your development office, as well as those monthly pledge reminders and your impact report. That's a lot. We know these appeals are a lot of work and there's a lot to go into it. So I'm going to show you now through these slides, because these are the ones you've been waiting for, some ideas. And again, the approach that we take. We know that we need a clear Catholic identity in your theme, in the imagery. We want to make sure that imagery is appropriate. You know, we're very conscious to make sure that it is Catholic visuals that we're using, especially when we are using stock photos, although a lot of times we do like to tap into custom photos if they're provided to us. And then we want to make sure all those little right things are there. The QR code is there. It's directing donors to give to the right place. That the poster is appealing. We want to make sure that people stop and look at it and take note and identify what it is. With it, we want to make sure that the materials are cohesive across all your communication pieces. And that we know that the most critical piece is your brochure, your case statement. It's the invitation, and it helps demonstrate how you're creating impact. Within it, you're probably going to have all the ways that you can give. You're going to highlight your giving society, and then you're going to want to create emotion from these stories. And look at how beautiful this is. And there's Bishop Cousins and his brochure from this year, as we all know that he's our leader when it comes to the revival this year. And as you can see, we made sure that it was everybody in Crookston knows Bishop Cousins' position with the Eucharistic revival. So we wanted to make that a highlight of the appeal, but also how the appeal there in Crookston is creating this impact with those beautiful pictures. Those are custom from them, and these wonderful stories, and not so text heavy. You know, as you can see, we want to make sure that this is something that will draw people in to want to take note and gather that impact real quickly from this information. And as it should, it carries through into the video that you're going to produce. With it, you know, how do we get people to open this? Well, we want, again, to be very bright and colorful and a larger envelope. So we really tend to use the 6x9s with those first asks to get people's attention. And we can carry that imagery over and messaging onto the envelope to get people thinking about what exactly is in here. This is pretty neat. Look at the monstrance on here and how beautiful that is. As you can see, then when it carries over into the letters, this letterhead is brought there, the segmented letters, the merged data is going to be in there. That extending the invitation for support is carried through on every piece. And this is where also the designers are so tuned in to make sure that everything, again, has that cohesiveness. And then the writing as well ties into the theme, ties into the Bible verse that's being used, ties into what Bishop wants to focus on as far as part of that invitation and where the diocese is going moving forward. Many of you know and have taken advantage of our beautiful banners. They are they're vinyl, so you know. They are so attractive. You know, we really want to draw attention for just not just the appeal, but we've had dioceses utilize these for priest retirement collections or capital campaigns in parishes or in dioceses. whatever you may need. And then there's that big QR code, because we know the QR code is still here. People use it. Let's keep the appeal very visual in front of everyone when they're walking through the door. If for some reason they miss the poster on the bulletin board, they're not going to miss the banner that's out there. And they're super affordable, and they come with stands as well. So some of the other things to think about is, how can we extend a deeper thank you or deeper touch points? Greeting cards, we seem to be in the greeting card business, at least that's the title that we give. We're doing so many different types of greeting cards. This one I just love. It's from the Diocese of Pittsburgh, and it's a shared thank you between Bishop Zubik and the pastor. So our pastors, we know the appeal rides on the back and the shoulders of the pastor, and they need a voice in this process as well. So very simply, we have a tried and true process that it's father's actual signature is on there. It's personalized to the person. The parish name is referenced in the thank you, but it also has that standard thank you from the bishop as well. This can be utilized for all your givers, or maybe just your giving society people. Again, just this beautiful touch point tied in with the theme. With the major donor society, we want people to know what our giving circles are. I love this one from the Diocese of Toledo, that it's titled "Their Society's Chartered Partners in Faith and Works." They even have a heritage circle, which are people that have given consistently to the appeal 5 years or more, and or are a sustained / recurring giver, because we know that that's where we're moving towards, that we want people to give consistently, not just stop their one-time gift or their pledge each year, but to have that ongoing gift. The Diocese of Lafayette recently instituted a giving society, which is just beautiful, and with it they have a gorgeous card for their receptions that acknowledged which level the person was in, and with it also provided a beautiful prayer card for each level that for that giving society. So this is just, some more of those ideas and ways to enhance and acknowledge these people who are in the societies. I talk to parishes or dioceses a lot when they are having their events or their dinners or their receptions. They don't always have something at the table for people. And we worked along the Diocese of Toledo to have this nice little 6-panel brochure. It has a thank you in there from Bishop, but it also brings in the brochure, the stories from the video, from the brochure. And also, because these people are giving so generously, it demonstrates the impact their gifts have when it's $1,000 or even up to $50,000 or more. And I think it's so critical, they're pinpointing that 60% of their appeal gifts are coming from their giving society members. And we don't always tell people that, but that's so significant. We should be reminding people of that. So this is a nice little touch point. Here, we're taking advantage of reaching out to these people, because I get asked a lot, okay, well, we have these societies, and other than our reception to kick off the appeal, how else can they be involved? Well, one beautiful way is the Chrism Mass. It's held every year during Holy Week in every diocese. We do know a lot of people attend it, but it's nice to put a personal invitation in the hands of your most generous givers. Maybe to even have a coffee and donuts or cookies and punch reception afterwards, if you have the ability to do something like that. Even they like being included in something like this. On the left is an example, Matt, sorry, real quick, of an invitation that can also be mailed. They can be greeting cards, they can be just flat cards, whatever it is you may need, but any way to invite people to different activities across the diocese. So think of those annual things where, okay, it is open to everybody, but can we extend that personal invitation to our most generous donors to invite them to something of this importance in the life of our diocese? Other touch points, we have about 3 dioceses now sending birthday cards once a month. If it's your birthday month, how nice to get a personalized birthday card saying happy birthday from either the development team, from Bishop, whoever it might be. I know that's not something we're gathering, but we have to start bringing in more of these nonprofit fundraising activities into our process, because we know our most generous donors are making up well over 50% to 75% of all of the gifts that we receive. So how can we have these additional touch points with people and also acknowledge them? On the next slide, Matt, if you don't mind, thanks. These are some more of those touch points that don't have an ask to it. I know Robert may talk just a little bit about his Christmas wishes from our seminarians. We all love our seminarians, but how cute to see them in the ornaments. So we can lean on other people across our diocese to engage with our donors. Not every single solitary thing has to come from Bishop, because this is an acknowledgement, and we know almost every appeal, there's vocations monies that are provided, and it's one of those things that most givers have an affinity to. We want to see our diocese have priests coming through, and how important it is to fund vocations. Also, Thanksgiving, we expect cards at Christmas and Easter. Not always Thanksgiving, but it is a beautiful time during our liturgical year to provide a nice Thanksgiving blessing with a prayer of Thanksgiving that can be used and said at the Thanksgiving table. People are very proud to receive this kind of touch point. And again, we have to incorporate that not every single time a donor hears from us that there is a pledge card. We have to have these non-ask touch points throughout the year as well. The impact report, I know many dioceses utilize the impact report, many don't. I always say we need to lead by examples. We are pretty much acknowledging that we are in some ways even mandating our parishes to at least once a year to put out an annual report, because we all know in fundraising, full disclosure and transparency are a must. We should follow suit and provide an impact report as well. Matt was showing you our Sunday visitor impact report and how proud we are of that. And we make sure we publish that annually as well. The impact report, I've seen it from a 4-page up to maybe even 56 pages if it includes foundation information as well. But that is a piece that we can walk alongside you from the entire creation, design of it, that, and publication and mailing and producing it for you. So we really highly recommend. I know many dioceses, well, yes, I wish I could do that, or I don't have the budget for it yet. It really needs to happen. It's critical in the process. We know the recurring givers are a huge focus. A couple years ago, I remember before COVID, this was just being kind of talked around. Some dioceses were doing it, but these people then will give and then they won't increase their gift. I have dioceses before they launch their appeal, they have $1.5 million raised before the appeal even kicks off, just from the recurring givers. So we know it's critical that this is here to stay. I think we're all embracing it. We got to make sure we're messaging it. As you can see, many dioceses have created a society for a society, a circle, a partnership, whatever it may you may want to wrap around it. Many are using the Blessed Carlo Society because we know Blessed Carlo is now in the steps of becoming sainted. So it's and his love for the internet. It's nice to acknowledge people in this way as well. And so it has to largely be a part of your messaging. So some additional enhancements to think of: your in-pew support materials. We know the in-pew fell off during COVID. We're all working very hard to resurrect it, because we know people listen. And when a pastor asks people to do something, they typically will do it. So we have to make sure those materials are available. A lot of dioceses are providing these in-pew QR code sheets physically. So it's there, how to scan the QR code, how to make the gift, and also that invitation for prayer. That's huge. We need to let people know this is not just a one-sided street that we just want your money, but we care about you. We want to pray for you. So that availability of prayer intentions is important too, through all the communication pieces. Bulletin inserts, we can't squeeze everything into that brochure. And then again, when we're creating a motion, whether the video is being shown at the parish or there's a lay witness speaker or father's giving his special homily / pulpit talk, it's good when we present those in pew envelopes to also have this auxiliary piece that further demonstrates what the appeal does. We all know we are constantly trying to solve, what does the appeal do? How does it serve my parish? How does it impact the diocese? So these bulletin inserts physically with the pledge cards for the in-pew aspect are becoming more and more popular as well as a speakers bureau. We know not every pastor is going to wrap their arms around and hit a home run for us on Commitment Sunday. They just won't do it. We know it. Okay. You all know it. You know who they are in your diocese. So send someone out there, somebody that's a head of one of your ministries, somebody that's a recipient of the good work that's been done, somebody from that parish who's been well trained to speak at the parish to encourage giving to the appeal. If our pastor won't do it, let's put a heavy hitter in there that will. And the Archdiocese of St. Louis does this fabulous job of training their speakers so that they assign people to all the parishes that ask for one or that struggle to meet goal, so that they have that right person in there. Because we know if we have a strong kickoff, that parish is going to do well instead of trying to achieve their goal 5-6 months later. Let's get the heavy hitters and the right people well trained and equipped to be that person to speak on Commitment Sunday. Our employees are critical and important. I think Robert's going to share a little bit of information because I know for years he's been working to engage the employees and their participation in the appeal process as well. If you don't approach them in their own segmented way, you probably won't have a strong response from them. It is nice to have a luncheon with them, have Bishop there, show the video, have a little bit of fun with it, give them this easy way to give the payroll deduction form and their own special packets at that point in time. And let them know that the work they do at the diocese is critical. It is mission work, but also their financial sacrifice is being invited so that we can continue to do all of the amazing things that we do at the diocesan level. All right, I got a couple more slides. This one is from our friends at the Archdiocese of St. Louis, Indianapolis. I'm sorry, Indianapolis. They do a fantastic job with pre-planning that they know each month what's going to be a focus. And they tie in this across all channels. So what you're seeing is a Facebook post, an e-newsletter, plus their pledge payment reminder. What you're not seeing is also the article in their newspaper, The Criterion. So for, let's say, the month of January, there's a focus on the St. Elizabeth Pregnancy and Adoption Services. So that's their Facebook post with a video. It's also in their e-newsletter. It's in their diocesan newspaper. And look, it's even on their pledge payment reminder. And on the next slide, we're going to show you every single month is a different ministry highlighted and focused on. And again, it's in line with all the other cross-channel marketing that's happening for that month. So, we have these business and aspects of our appeal, such as the tax letter, the pledge reminder. Let's take advantage of those business pieces and share impact. You never know, it might generate greater giving or help pledge fulfillment become even higher, or even people want to be involved or answer that question, what does my gift do? So we need to be putting that out in all of the pieces. Non-donor outreach, I know we're continuing to lose in most dioceses. Thank God, giving is up. And we know dollars up, donors down is something we're all living with. How do we reach these non-donors? The challenge is we really need to arm our pastors better, because if you have a parish of 1,000 households, 1,000 giving households at a parish, and 300 of them support the appeal, which is about an average number, 30%, There's 70% of givers to the parish that aren't giving to the appeal. And most times we don't know who they are, right? Because we're not supposed to know who's giving to the church, it's not shared information. But that's your low-hanging fruit, to be frank and honest. And that's where the support for our pastors and our parishes is critical, because they are the ones that can help bring those people in. And actually, Robert's going to talk a little bit more about that and share some tips with you as well. Appeal kickoff webinars, I'm starting to see some of these fall off. I'm starting to see some other dioceses put a lot more emphasis in it, and I think that's fantastic. We're here to support you in that effort as well. I always say I can get away with saying some things to your parish leadership that a diocesan director can't necessarily. And they need coaching. They need a pep talk. And sometimes they just like hearing from somebody else. So if that's something you'd like us to partner with you on, we'd be happy to. But I think these are still very critical and important, because they need this training and they are asking for it. I promise you they are asking for it. And actually, Matt's going to share a story out of Texas that he just heard in a few minutes as well. Okay, so what does this look like? When we work with the diocese on onboarding, we like to be in the trenches no later than July. And July is pushing it. And I'm talking about a Lenten appeal. If the appeal is kicking off in February, really a diocese should be planning for their appeal 14 to 15 months in advance. We shouldn't be waiting until July, August, or September, because every time that happens, it's very rushed. It's the diocese and the team and the video are not coming together cohesively as they should. Everybody's stressed. They're trying to get materials approved through the bishop and all parties, and finding pictures and getting approvals. If the more we plan in advance, the less stress you will be, the more time you will have on the most critical thing, which is working with your donors. So, as I mentioned, we have some new services from our Sunday Visitor. Operational assessment audits. We've conducted quite a few assessments across the United States at dioceses that have asked us to assess their current process. We're very excited and happy to do that. It's so eye-opening. We also know many dioceses are without a development director, so we do offer to step into that role with our coordinator services. We do have coaching as well. A diocese have approached us and contracted with us to coach their new directors coming in, because we know a lot of times they just have not sat in this role, and the church role is very different from other nonprofits, as we know. And then our appeal creative services. And I'm excited to turn things over to Alexis to share with you some information about those services.
Excellent. Thank you, Joni. It's good to be with you all this morning. My name is Alexis Cleaver, and I work here at OSV, and I'm part of the team that is new to OSV, the OSV Creative Services team. So this was really born out of continually hearing the needs of our customers to kind of come into this digital space in a particular way, or to answer kind of marketing and communication needs that our customers have. This is something that we see as something that could couple with our awesome print and mail and consulting services that we attach to your appeal strategies with OSV, but it also can be something that is kind of a la carte or add on to support any of the great works that you're doing. Things to think about in this area when you look at us as creative services. I'm going to ask Matt to go back one for me. Thank you. These are kind of our buckets and ways that we can respond to your needs. So marketing communication strategies. So we would work hand in hand with your team as a partner to talk about the messaging you currently have in place, and talk about ways that we can enhance this to better reach your audiences, and to kind of be better at sharing your story and getting your news across to your community. This can be anything from very particular things like enrollment strategies for schools or for dioceses promoting their diocesan schools, clustering parishes, communication strategies, or simply just your appeal communication strategy. So we would talk with you, talk about what you're doing, and kind of come up with recommendations on what we could do to enhance that, to kind of employ those things that Joni was highlighting with, cross-channel marketing, making sure all of your messaging is lining up in an impactful way for those who are receiving that messages. Design services. This is, branding and logo design. Sometimes you have maybe a special event or appeal or thing that you want to highlight or create a brand for. So we have a great design team that could assist with that so that you have your unique look. We could do different print and mail services, you know, if you need a postcard, a brochure, or anything outside of your normal appeal things, we could do kind of those one-off pieces for you. We'd provide a review of your website so that it is user-friendly and offer kind of suggestions on how to communicate who you are to your website visitors. Offer video creation. So if you have an appeal video or even vignettes, like shorter, you know, 60 to 90-second impact videos that you want to share, we could assist you with that. And then finally, digital marketing. This is kind of a space where the church is seeing where we need to be. So we would be a partner for you to come up with a strategy for your digital marketing, you know, to acquire maybe some new donors through lookalike campaigns or different paid advertisements that we would assist you with. So we'd meet with you, kind of go through what you're doing, what your goals are. You know, are you trying to acquire new donors to your appeal? Are you, you know, trying to get back old donors? So we'd talk about different ways that we could engage those particular audiences. Yeah, so that's kind of a big overview. Thinking in the digital space, this is kind of our overall digital strategy, which would be kind of that add-on to your print and mail appeal pieces. So we would talk about, you know, social media, regular posting schedule, you know, unique content and messaging matching your brand that's already created. Similarly, having email campaigns. So we would work with you on a regular schedule, integrating that into timing with when the mailings are dropping. And of course, kind of making the messaging unique to who we are reaching out to. So we would kind of work with you to create that strategy and provide you with content for that. I mentioned the website overview, and then of course the paid advertising piece. The next slide is just an overview of our process of working with you. We at OSV, we really are about being your partner. You know, we want to work with you to make an impact for you and with you. So our process would really start with, you know, a discovery call, similarly to all other kind of encounters with OSV. We'd listen for your needs, your objectives. We'd come back together as an OSV creative services team, listen to and compare our notes based on what we heard from you, kind of make a plan for you. We would collaborate with different teams within OSV to put all of our best tools forward in support of your goals. We'd present that to you, our suggested solutions, and then of course, execution of that. Should you choose to partner with us would all depend on kind of your projects and deadlines and goals. So it's really kind of this awesome creative process where we're responding uniquely to your needs. So we would be working kind of hand in hand with you to fulfill that.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks, Alexis. We appreciate it. Again, as we are hearing the stories of what you're challenged with, that's kind of another thing to think about as you've seen some examples of what's happening, kind of like, you know, if I had help with X, I could do more of Y. That's the space OSV wants to help and be in for you, to be that partner, to take things off your plate so you can do the things that have to be done locally in person, and we can be some of that administrative overload. So to lean into that a little bit, we're going to bring in Robert Watts from the Diocese of Lexington and a few other places through his career, just to talk through what he's been involved with as he landed in Bourbon/Horse/Appalachia, Kentucky, in the counties around there. So Robert, I'll go ahead and turn it over to you and let you kind of walk us through your recent history.
Well, thank you, Matt. I appreciate it very much. It's exciting to be here today. I've already got a short list of notes from myself and our program of things that I'm interested in learning more about. And I hope that everyone on today's call will also have a short list of things that you would like to try. It can be a little overwhelming at times. And so I would encourage you, especially if you're newer to your role, just to breathe and relax and enjoy the process, because it is a wonderful process. OSV is a great partner. And I think that you will come to find in time, as I have, that even being a small shop, having a partner like OSV enhances your reach and enables you to get where you want to go that much more quickly. I'd like to give you some stats about our diocese just so you will know who we are. And if you are similar in size, you'll know that all things are possible. It's great to be one of the big boys, but at the same time, mission dioceses hold a special place and a special outreach as well. So in the Diocese of Lexington, we're 59 parishes and missions. Half of those parishes, because they're located in what's known as Appalachia, have to be subsidized financially because of their size. Our diocese is about 4 hours driving end to end, 50 counties, 40 of which are located in Appalachia, which has an unemployment rate that's about 3 times the national average and a drug addiction rate that's 5 times the national average. We have 39,000 Catholics, which is about 3% of the population. And we have about 12,600 Catholic families in our database. As we go through this information, know this: if you want to make a change, make that change. And it starts with visualization. Visualize what you want to see in your program and to believe it's possible. Because if you can visualize it and you can believe it, then you and OSV together can plan for it. And typically, the life you're leading is the one you planned for 12 months ago. So if you want to impact your campaign in 2025, now is a perfect time to start visualizing and planning for the future. And so in our situation, I'm just finishing my second year here. When I arrived, we were a campaign of $1 million. We had about 3,200 donors, which gave us about 24% participation. Some folks would be happy with 24% participation, but for us, it was stagnant. The appeal had done between 950,000 and $1 million in about the last 10 years. It would go up a little bit, down a little bit, but never more than about $150,000 swing, and never anything sustainable. And I think that's key as we go through this presentation. You don't want to just create change. You want to create change that's sustainable so that you can build a foundation that you can truly grow upon. So at the end of that fiscal year, as I say, we're $1 million campaign. In the next year, we were a $1.4 million campaign, and we had 4,700 donors, which gave us about 37% participation. So now we're slightly above the national average, very solid campaign, but we weren't done yet. And so we visualized what we wanted, and in consultation with our bishop, what we wanted was 50% participation.
Hi, Mommy. How are you?
We felt like if you're going to be an appeal, ours is called One in Christ, that we couldn't be one in Christ if less than a quarter of the people in the diocese supported the appeal. So we wanted to get to that 50% mark. We're going to end this fiscal year at 1.6 million, which is 200,000 above last year, which is 250 above the year before. So in 24 months, we've had a $500,000 swing. We also have increased our donors to 5,700, as I mentioned, 46% participation. So we didn't quite get to the 50%. It's still on our radar, but we believe the 46% participation makes us one of the more highly penetrated appeals in the diocese across the country. So again, think about what you want, visualize it, and now I think it would be good if we talked about, okay, how did you get there? And again, we're not very well resourced in the Diocese of Lexington, so take pride in our struggle, because money doesn't need to be a barrier to getting the job done. And I want you all to hear that loud and clearly. OSV will partner with you to create a strategy that not only is a winning strategy, but one that you can afford. And there are some very doable small tweaks that can happen to your appeal right now, this week, that you can do for next year that I guarantee you will increase your funding. I like to call them no cost, low cost ideas, but that they really have a big impact. So here on the next couple slides are some things we had to do. First, we needed a refresh. The materials were tired, so we had a material rebranding, and we really looked at more vibrant colors. On the left is something from the old format. On the right is the new rebranding, much more visual use of primary colors, more photographs, as Joni mentioned earlier. You don't need to be text heavy. Most of the people appreciate things not being text heavy because they're drawn into the photos. They want to see themselves, they want to see their friends. So along with those fresher designs were more photos and a fresher appeal. And I like the pathways, and on the far right there, we started including a more visual graph of where the money goes. And I think that using primary colors and being able to tie that back to where the money is actually being spent from the appeal did a lot to help us gain ground. So this next one, no matter who you are, no matter how great your program is, and there are some excellent programs out there, the database has to be improved. And it needs to be improved for a variety of reasons. One, to save yourself money. You don't want to mail to people who have left your diocese or are no longer interested in hearing from you. You also don't want to create heartache for people. If somebody has passed away or they've lost a loved one, and then 6 months later, they're going to get appeal information addressed to that loved one, that's not a situation that you want to be a part of. So cleaning up the database, as much as we've added people, we actually have eliminated about 1,400 names from our database in the last 2 years just from this process. And here's how we did it. We ran a contest for all the parishes because everything in the Diocese of Lexington is voluntary with our appeal, from the goals to the participation to turning in the rosters. Everything is we ask, and hopefully we ask in a compelling enough way that they agree to participate. So we ran a contest. If your material was in by a certain date, you were entered for a drawing. We also use something that we call the Rome Report. You may call it by a different name, but every September, every diocese has to send a statistical analysis to Rome. And in there is a death deletions report. And so we asked the chancellor for that. Your chancellor would be the place to start if you want to secure yours. And we took that Rome report and we compared it against the database. And quite frankly, we were horrified to find 400 people in there who had passed away that were still in the database after the parishes had reported to us their current database, which tells us even at the parish level, they weren't keeping up with the fact that they were burying people out of their own parish and not updating the database. It's not an effort to point fingers. It's just a realization of where we're at. And I think that you would be surprised too if you pulled your Rome report and compared it against your database. Okay. Also, the Social Security Death Index. Everyone who gets Social Security and then passes away is listed in this index. Most CRM CRM programs have a functionality that will tie you into this. We did that. We picked up some adjustments there. We also created some mandatory fields because before I arrived, if we could put your name in, then we were golden. Name and parish got you registered in our system with no other information. And Joni mentioned earlier about the birthday cards. You can't send birthday cards if you don't have birth dates, but you know what else you can't send if you don't have birth dates. You can't segment things about gift annuities and about IRA contributions, and you lose a whole segment of your database that could receive targeted mailings in addition to all the great touch bases. So we have started to make that a mandatory field and use some other best practices to update that data. We also purchased from a vendor email and phone numbers, and we deduped and merged. And all of this together resulted in over 1,000 files being deleted and about 250 new records being added. And on an average gift size of about $300, think about those 250 new people who, at least for the last 3 years, had not even been receiving an appeal packet, so they didn't have the opportunity to give, and what that meant for us. Next up, what we changed was our mailing. In the past, they had mailed 3 times a year. In that very first year, we went to 4 times, and then this year we went to 6 times. For the year coming up, we're a fall appeal. We're returning to 4 pieces. We feel like that's about the right volume for us, but we do need to do some more segmentation. So 4 pieces and more segmentation is how we're going to roll in this next appeal coming up. And we just encourage you to try that. One of the things we did, since our appeal supports the work of the retired priest, is we did an appeal mailing from the vicar for retired priest, talking about his life from age 8 to his current retired life and what he does. And having served all over the diocese, that mailing really resonated with a lot of hearts who had experienced him at some point during his ministry. We got a lot of feedback that they enjoyed looking at pictures from his life, and they enjoyed understanding more that part of their contribution to the DAA went to supporting the work of retired priest. And I mention that because in the next couple slides, you're going to hear more about drilling down. It isn't enough to say that your appeal helps people. How does it help people? You know, Joni in her presentation got very specific about telling the story and who are these people. I can't stress that enough. I have to think it appeared in my slide as well, not only because it's true, but I'm also a student of Joni Lewis and have had the opportunity to work with her. And things don't really happen. Good things don't start until people get real with each other and until they really get in the weeds, get a little bit messy, and get beyond the old question of, will you help? Let's talk about how you can help. Let's talk about who you're helping. Let's talk about why these folks need your help. Let's talk about how you might end up being one of these folks one day. The letter that's flashing up there now is the appeal letter. This was, I believe, the 4th letter that went from the retired vicar. You can see him there at 8 years old. You can see him in the top left corner blessing a horse. We obviously are in horse country here in central Kentucky. He swims every day. He likes to give me a hard time because there's a picture on the right where he sort of had hair, and some people remember that. But just telling the story and getting real about his vocation really touched the hearts and minds of people. Again, you'll notice a heavy use of primary colors there, and you'll notice that things are a little fresher in the masthead. We have a great design team that works on our account. We sort of lay out a vision, and the next thing they do is bring the vision to reality. And it's almost like Christmas morning opening a gift when we see the great things that they produce for us. But let's go back to that storytelling, because people love stories. They love connecting with other people. Doesn't even have to be people they know, but there is so many emotions that come from a good story. There's sadness, there's joy, there's the feeling of overcoming obstacles, and there's victory. And people can see themselves in those stories. So we, as you're going to see in a slide in just a minute, brought those priest partners in from all 59 parishes and started telling stories. We started using OSV banners. You can pop that one back up, Matt. On the right, I refer to those as the bobbleheads, but those are 13 pastors or parish life directors whose total support is paid for by the annual appeal. If we didn't have the appeal, we wouldn't have the money to have full-time ministers in those 13 parishes. It blows my mind, but it wasn't until last year that anybody told anyone else who those people were. For decades, they used to say, yeah, the appeal helps keep the smaller churches open, but they never said which smaller churches, and they never said who those pastors were. And so people didn't know. And what's super scary is they didn't even know it was their own church. And so they wouldn't give to the DAA, and they're sitting in the pews of a church that wouldn't exist without the appeal. And so by putting the bobbleheads forward and showing them and showing who they are, and people being able to connect with the appeal on a whole nother level, the donations have continued to come in. And we know that about 52 of our 59 parishes have exceeded their financial goals, which is amazing. So a development day was created. And the first year here, we didn't have a development day. And I would say this if he was sitting here, so I'm not talking out of turn, but the bishop and I went round and round because I said we needed a development day, and he said, no, we don't. And so he won that year, and we had 11 parishes out of 59 that we can document that did an MPEW experience. And if you don't hear anything else, know this: you cannot be successful without an MPEW experience. And so we were not as successful as we could have been because we didn't have one. He said everyone knew how to do it. I said they don't know how to do it. And so we went forward, and 11 did it, and it wasn't great. And so the next year, we created the Bishop's Development Day. We do 2 of them, one on one side of the diocese and one on the other. They're 4 hours long plus lunch, and they're hosted by the bishop who attends. And when he attends, he sits through the whole thing. He does not pop in and say, thank you for coming. That was one of our agreements, that he would be fully present for the entire time. He doesn't have to present. He usually speaks and says a few words, but he has to be there and be in the moment with the other pastors and laity that are there. I teach part of the class. My OSV partner, Matt Adams, teaches the other part of the class. And we do actual role play. We go through the basics of what it's like to work in an MPEW. We have some successful pastors who do MPEW. We actually role play. We have a theme. This year, we did this whole thing around being a train conductor, and we wore train conductor hats and had whistles on the table. And we talked about that storytelling again, and we wanted people to understand you're the key storyteller here. You're the pastor. People are going to listen. They want to know who you are, and they want to know why this matters to you. And so we need to all step up and set a new standard. And the bishop announced that his expectation would be that every parish would be at 50% participation when we finish this campaign, and that we as a diocese would be at 50% participation. And because that leadership started at the top, and we demonstrated how every pastor needed to demonstrate the same amount of leadership in their own parish, that it really did work well. And we have 42 of our 59 parishes that went forward and exceeded the 50%. And when I say exceeded it, some of them hit 75, 80% participation. So there'll be speakers at Development Day this year, because that will take it even one step further when pastors can hear from their peers about how they did that. And we as a diocese, as I mentioned, are going to be at 46%. And can we go to the synergy slide for a minute? There you go. So what changed? We believed we could do it. And, I didn't spend a lot of time letting people know that almost no one has 50% penetration, because it doesn't matter what other people are doing. It mattered what we believed we could do and what kind of planning we would do to support that. So we agreed on that. We agreed that everyone would do an MPU event. I think out of the 59, there are 54 that did do an MPU event. And we are very close to getting to the 50%. Now, if we could go back to that other slide just for a minute, Matt.
I was going to say, Robert, somewhere in here, I'd love to tell you how you engage the priest to help him understand how easy it was to get to that participation goal by bringing him the supplies he needed to do the NPU the right way. Would you mind sharing one of those stories sometime? Doesn't have to be now, but.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so creating that synergy is really important, and making sure that we go forward. You know, this year we're going to have increases in our goals. We haven't had them in 7 years. And I know some of my peers cringe when they increase the goals. Doesn't bother me, because we have laid a foundation working together where we all believe this is possible. And we know that we want to continue to grow, because we know the ministry efforts hang in the balance. And so we can do more ministry when we have more funds. And we are growing in the number of seminarians, and for that, we need more funds. And so again, being able to take everything back to a story and challenge other pastors, what's your story going to be? And we do that through our consultation all year long with the pastors. If they want to share an idea with us, and they do, and it doesn't have a story in it, the bishop and I will say to them, that's great. The only thing we think might be missing is a story. What can your story be? So looking ahead, we're going to hit the 50% in the coming year. We are going to have all of the parishes meet their goals. And we're going to double the use of the floor signs. We only rolled them out in about 15 parishes. This year, we're going to have them in 30 of the parishes. We're going to introduce a St. Francis Society for online donors. If you saw us in the Catholic Register, we have committed within the next 4 to 5 years to be net zero carbon footprint in all 59 parishes. And so this is actually connected with that movement as well. We're introducing lay chairs, and this is something I will say, is that we've never worked just with the pastors. We always did the pastors and the business managers, because we know someone else in that parish office is also keeping their eye on the appeal ball, so to speak, and will hold the pastor accountable. And now we want to introduce a lay component to that, so that when pastors are transferred, the knowledge base and the energy that that pastor has doesn't leave the parish. It remains in the form of the business manager and the lay person. We're adding a major donor event this year. We're identifying 6 priests, one from each deanery, that will be on an advisory council. And this is interesting. We're adding a share back or a rebate, which is going to be 1 year only. So we're positioning it as a time sensitive. Hey, look, this is going to be great. You better do this. It's great for your parish. But we're saying to them, and we're giving each parish a list of all the people who have not supported the DAA in their parish. And we're just saying to them, when you give your story, when you do your MPU, think and pray for these people, because so far, whatever we've done at a diocesan level, whatever we've done at a parish level, we have not touched the hearts and minds of these people in a compelling enough story yet to get them to participate. If they participate this year, we're going to split whatever their gift is with you. So if they donate $100, 50 will go to the diocese, 50 will stay in the parish. It's a 1 year only thing to try to drive that 50% up to 70%. Will it happen? I don't know. We're happy with anything over 50, but we wanted to have a concerted effort just to try to see how high we could get this, because we do believe in boots on the ground ministry here. This money that we're collecting, it isn't going into an endowment. It's out the door within 90 days into ministry. And we wanted to see if we could drive that process a little larger and have it have a little more impact. As far as the materials, when we ship them with boxes of candy in them so that when the pastors receive them, there's a little treat for them and they're more likely to look through the box and see what's in there. And we go through the materials with them and we really try to make it personal so that they're skilled in what's in the box so that they're more likely to use it. Did I hit on what you wanted, Matt, or was there another thing you were thinking about with the visits? You're muted, Matt.
Of course I am. Yes, of course. Jeez. The tech guy has tech problems. So yeah, we appreciate it. It was very good. Hopefully everybody got some insights there. We're running a little long, but are there any questions that you want to pose? You can throw them in the chat or raise your hand. We have time for a couple here. I do have the ability to send us into breakout rooms if you want to do that now, or I thought about doing that after this next little session we've got that talks about capital campaigns. It's not going to be terribly long. We can end the day in those breakout rooms and then get ready for tomorrow if that's okay with everybody. So any particular questions anybody has? Like I said, you can drop them in the chat or raise your hand. Jana, if you see, I don't know if you can see hands being raised. If not, that's fine. All right. Don't think I see anything right away. But yeah, thanks for everything, Robert. That was really great. And I know there's all kinds of stories. If you want to pull Robert aside at ICSC or send him a direct message, it's very cool. So there was a question about Thankful Thursdays that was on the slide. Can you talk about that real quick and what you're doing to help?
Very briefly, it ties into your comment about employees. Before our campaign mails, we segment out the priest, the deacons, and the staff, and we do a pre-campaign with each of them called Thankful Thursdays. And they arrive at the chancery. There's food for them. They become kind of conditioned that on Thursdays there's something special for them during the month that we're doing their pre-campaign. And it's that time where we are expressing gratitude. We're sharing our gifts because we usually make all the stuff for them. And then we are also answering questions about how the appeal works to help people. And we do that for all three segmented groups. So by the time the pastors do their MPU on Sunday, they can say 100% of the chancery staff, 80% of the deacons, 70% of the priest support the appeal. And it solidifies our street credibility, but it also is a way for us to say thank you and express gratitude, which sometimes can be lost in the day-to-day of these appeals when you're doing the grunt work, and you really need to keep that gratitude at the front and center.
Great. Thank you. That is great. Again, Robert's around. If you need any contact information or want to connect with him directly, let me know. We can make sure you touch base with him. But thank you very much for that. We appreciate the insights. I think the energy and what you're doing there is truly great. The boots on the ground, getting in with the priests, going to masses, making sure they're doing the right things for the appeal has gone a long way. So we appreciate the partnership and the ability to help. We're going to do a little bit on capital campaigns. We had some questions in the surveys that you all filled out initially talking about, campaigns, capital campaigns, diocesan campaigns, the appeal. We kind of wanted to give you the priest side of the equation. Father Chris participated in the increased offertory through the Diocese of Cleveland when Bishop Perez kind of put that initiative out there that they wanted their priests to get recovered and get back to things. And then as he got into the community, he's going to talk a little bit about what Ray Coogan's going to talk a little bit about our approach and how it's a little different and how it might be more suitable for some parishes in the country and some dioceses. But then Father Chris is going to talk about his journey of how he got into the community, did some changes in the office structure. I was actually there one day when I think a storm struck a tree and knocked a branch down where his new puppy was going to have his fence the next week or so. But he'll talk about what that journey looked like for him. And then we'll do a little breakout session at the end where we can get into some breakout rooms and do some discussions, or you can leave early if you'd like. So without further ado, let's get Ray Coogan on. Yeah, where's Ray at? Are you there, Ray? There's Ray.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. What I was thinking we could probably do is maybe have Father Chris go first, kind of give his experience working with OSV, and then I'll kind of bring it home and touch upon, maybe some of the things that he did not mention. But
Sure.
let me
Yeah.
ask Father Chris to come forward, just kind of share his experience working with OSV and, how his capital campaign went. They exceeded their goal. They did a great job. And Father was an absolute pleasure to work with. So I appreciate him coming on and spending a few minutes with us today. But let me turn it over to Father Chris.
Okay. Father, if you can unmute, there you go. You're good.
Okay, can everybody hear me now?
Gotcha.
Yes.
I want to just see, everybody can hear and see me. I can't see myself. Does that matter?
No, you're good. You look good. You're in the frame.
Okay, very good. I want to make sure I look good. You're right.
That's right.
Well, thanks, Matt and Ray, and I appreciate the opportunity to share the parish's experience. We had a great opportunity to work with OSV on 2 occasions. If you see up on the board there, that was just on that screen, we had 2 campaigns. The first was We Are Blessed. That was an increased offertory with Bishop Perez, with the initiative behind that here in the Diocese of Cleveland. That's where I am, the Diocese of Cleveland, Ohio. Copley, Ohio, to be exact. And that was an initiative to kind of call forward some volunteerism within the life of the parish. I had just taken over a parish from a gentleman, Father Jim Kramer, and he was an elderly pastor, and so we wanted to create some ministries and some volunteerism and things of that nature. So that was a great opportunity through We Are Blessed to take advantage of that initiative through the diocese. And with that being fully funded, we reached out and formed new parish groups, new parish ministries, and a lot of volunteerism. And then from that, naturally, more money came into the parish. As a matter of fact, my parish had an increase in giving from last year to this last fiscal year. So that's kind of a rare thing for us nowadays to see an increase in our offertory. And I think it's attributed to the We Are Blessed program, which brought together a lot of new volunteers, as I say. And then after that campaign that we worked on, Matt mentioned my dog. She's right there, Sammy, if you're looking at your screen. I think she increased the offertory by maybe 50%, so she's well loved. No. After we had done the We Are Blessed campaign, we had some structural damage to the church, and we started to repair it through some insurance claims, but it turned out that the entire church needed some major renovation and some work. And so after assessing the property, we realized that we need to raise about, if you look on the screen there, about $885,000 was the estimated cost. And I'm looking out my office window here now, looking right at the church, and they're actually painting the exterior of the church, the final touch, and we exceeded that cost. All of the costs came in just over $1 million to renovate our kitchen, to fix the damage, to put in new drainage, to fix the roofs. So there was nothing that we left unturned. So we fixed everything because we had the funds. Our campaign was for $1 million. We were thinking we were going to need to spend about $885,000, but our campaign was for $1 million. And my parish is very generous. We got just over 700 families. We raised in pledges almost 1.3 million. So we certainly have enough money to pay for the project. We got a loan from our diocesan bishop, Bishop Malesic. He has an emergency account here for us pastors, an interest-free loan. So we had to borrow about 600,000. So I had about 400,000 in gifts. So I could pay off the first 400, to borrow 600. Now I have 5 years to pay back the bishop. And my campaign through our Sunday Visitor is runs 3 years. So I'm hoping to receive the funds and pay off the bishop before the 5th year. Actually, I think at last count, we've already collected about 700,000 of the $1.2 million worth of pledges. So we got a little over $500,000 out there that we are just in the process of doing a mailing, asking people, reminding them about their pledge. Now, the campaign for fixing our foundation and the building of the church is called that Foundation for Tomorrow. And that was $1 million campaign. And like I said, we pushed in about $1 million, almost $1.3 million in pledges. So very, very successful. And we would have never been able to do that without the help of our Sunday Visitor. And I think as I had the experience working with Matt through the We Are Blessed campaign, I was able to just jump right into the Foundation for Tomorrow. All of the graphics and everything that you see here on the screen, our Sunday Visitor, you certainly helped us put that together, did mailings for us, reached out to folks from our databases, guided me in talking to our big donors. I had one-on-one conversations with folks who are very generous, and that proved to be very successful. And then, an in-pew appeal, a mailing, and we just sat back, and the people were very generous. And, we were just coming out of COVID, so I was a little skeptical of how this would go, but very overwhelmed by the generosity of the people. And I think they responded well to the presentation and the delivery and the messaging that we were able to send out to the parish. And, with their generosity, with their overwhelming desire to have a sustainable parish for the future, and with the campaign as the way it was laid out, I think all those things came together and made for a very successful campaign, no doubt. So obviously we had 100, like I think 125% of our goal we hit. So we went over our goal, obviously. And I think it was like 125 around there. So kind of rattling off everything that's at the top of my head. I don't know what more to add. I certainly can add more. I think if like Ray or Matt, you have questions for me, that might help, or I don't know how this set up.
That's what I wanted to bring in. Yeah. So we, coming out of COVID, we had the offertory program, and obviously the fun adventures there with the new puppy shortly thereafter.
Yeah.
So the community, when Ray engaged, we had done the foundational work to bring people back, get people back engaged. And then you were able to take it another step by doing those personal visits and personal calls, I think.
Sure.
That really added the extra element, much like what Robert was just talking about. The priest, his engagement level is infectious. So tell us a little bit about those visits and kind of how you approached that to help.
The visits, fortunately for me, I've been doing this for 20 plus years, so I've had opportunities to go and talk to wealthy donors, generous contributors. And what's nice is you guys and other companies that I've worked with that the diocese have helped us work with, you set a number based upon giving, past giving, a history of giving by these folks. So I was able to go in and say, exactly, this is what I'd like you to consider doing. And we're certainly appealing to your generosity. Certainly I go in there with gratitude and thanksgiving for everything that they've done prior to my coming in. So having a number to throw out to them, and going to where they live or their place of business, sometimes inviting them into the parish, whatever it was. I don't know, I think maybe Ray, if you got the numbers in front of you there, that personal visit was highly successful. We were maybe like at 30 or 40% towards our goal just from my visits. I don't even know if that's the correct number, but I know that was a very successful venture. And when we did the in-pew, we were able to say, this is where we already are in regards to our goals. So that created a lot of excitement and a lot of enthusiasm, because, I was able to get up there and say, I had made some visits. We've already accumulated X amount of dollars, and boy, you know, if everyone just does their part, we'll explode and we'll exceed our goal by, you know, tenfold or whatever, however I said it. And that's exactly what happened. I was able to go in there and say, it won't take much more, and we're gonna get there pretty quick if everybody can do just a little on their part. So that was helpful. So
Great, great.
Yeah, I think the personal visits, the receptions, Father,
yeah,
really,
receptions, I forgot about those. Yeah.
yeah, just you're really securing those larger gifts first. One of the things that we're all talking about, and I'm sure the diocesan folks on the call today, that whole donations up, donors down. That if you miss the boat on your major donors, the likelihood of being successful diminishes quite a bit. So I think the work, the time, the due diligence that we put into that made sure that we were going to be successful. And then, as you speak about, the IMPU portion of this, which is, another, super important thing, to be able to say, hey, our goal is X, we've already raised X amount of dollars towards that goal, build excitement, build momentum, prove the goal is attainable to the rest of the parish, is kind of, right out of the fundraising 101 playbook. So the fact that you were able to do all those things and we were able to, assist you on some of that, I think really, we're the catalyst to a successful campaign.
Yeah, without a doubt, it created, it was a very positive experience when we got to the pews, because people saw, hey, we're just about there. So if I give a bit and if I can contribute, I think all of us together collectively can help really drive us to reach our goal. And it's attainable. It's not something, like, oh, geez, yeah, how are we going to get $1 million? You're kidding me, Father. But when I can go in there and say we already have 400,000 or whatever the number was, it just, it was very helpful.
We do have those unrealistic expectation discussions, right? And I had another parish that I think they needed almost 7 million on an offertory of 500,000, and we said that's probably a little bit more than you can bite off at this particular time. So
Yeah,
we're glad you were able to find something that fit the community, and we were able to find those donors for you.
yeah, you know what? It's having a realistic goal helps. You don't want to ask for too much, and you don't want to undershoot it either, and then end up short. So, I've been in parishes. This is my 8th parish in 20 some years. So, I'm very blessed here because great generosity. I mentioned that because there were some sleepless nights at some of my other places, but I haven't missed a night's sleep here because you can go to bed as a pastor with a little peace of mind, thinking I can take care of these bills because these people have been so generous. But our Sunday visitor, I couldn't have done it without you guys, of course. So that made me very confident in presenting the campaign because I had something visually appealing to present to the folks. I had a script to follow. I was coached very well in what to say and how to say it. And I also, I'm kind of a laid back kind of fella. I'm saying, hey, if whatever you can do to help, I truly appreciate it. That's my sales pitch. And, it's worked for me. And as a pastor, if you're engaged in the parish and you're always around and you're working and, you don't have to sell too much of trust you,
Yeah, that's great. And that's really is the team, with Jana and the design, the coaching, the recording, all of that really does help a priest be better. So you can focus on those conversations and not the administrative burden that can come with something like this.
That's true. Yeah.
So yeah, capital campaign, they hadn't done one at the parish for a long time, right?
Here?
Yeah.
Well, we had just done a diocesan campaign to help with our seminary.
Right. That's right.
And that was called Heart of a Shepherd.
Yep.
And just to tell you about the generosity of my parish, we had like $150,000 goal, and we pledged like over 350. We were one of the top pledging parishes in our diocese for our seminarian campaign. I think we came in at like 210%.
Yeah.
On that one. And this one, we came in at $1 million. We came in just over 125%. So that kind of tells you what kind of parish I have.
Yes. Yep. And you lead them there. So Ray, is there anything?
We're trying.
Yeah. Keep doing your work. You've got a beautiful facility there. So
yeah, that's great.
Ray, anything else that that we missed that you'd like to mention before we go into some breakout rooms and do some discussions?
Yeah, just a couple real quick things, Matt. And Father Chris, thank you so much for taking
Yeah.
the time and
Yeah.
being on this call. And I really appreciate the kind words and kind of sharing your story. So thank
Yeah.
you so much for doing that.
Yeah,
Thanks,
I'll break
Father.
away and I wish you guys well, all right?
Yes.
Very good.
Thanks, Father.
Thanks, Father.
God bless.
God bless.
Bye.
Yeah, Father kind of took us through, but just a couple things that wanted to mention very quickly. One thing that Joni said early in her remarks is, we don't know what you do at OSV. So the big takeaway for me with this meeting is to let all the folks on the call know that we do capital campaigns, and actually we've just entered into our 9th year of capital campaigns. So we're hardly new to this. I've been working in Catholic parish fundraising for almost 30 years, so I'm not at all new to this, but I think we really developed a strong program and a program that has a few very solid differentiators between others that are out there doing this type of work. But we certainly want you to be aware that we are doing this work. Also, the way that we run our campaigns is a little bit different, and it certainly has some cost savings associated with it. So not that we're focused on smaller parishes, but we do have the ability to help parishes that may only have 500 or 750 registered families, kind of similar to Father Chris's parish. Recently, we just completed a campaign in Norwich, Connecticut, and they felt that, we can't do a campaign. We're a small parish. And we think we raised over $500,000 for this parish, and they were able to take care of some, really pressing needs that they just hadn't been able to address. Thanks, Matt. You put the feasibility study slide on there. Yeah, I just want, I know, a lot of the folks on the call here being diocesan officials, there are more and more dioceses that are requiring a feasibility study prior to the start of the campaign. And one thing that, I will always say, I've never worked with a parish that at the end of a study said, I wish we didn't do this study. Every parish comes out of a study, no matter what the results are, knowing their parish better, knowing a greater understanding of how people feel about the goals, the case components. So, it's always a very good thing. And it's something that we definitely have available to share with your parishes. But I'll stop there. I know we want to get into the breakout rooms. I know, the annual appeal is definitely a hot topic for this room. So I thank you for your time today, and I'll kick it back to you, Matt. Thanks so much, everyone.
Thanks, Ray. We appreciate it. And one thing to remember, that if you do have a vendor list or an authorized discussion list, we'd love to be part of that, just so we can have those conversations and help you understand how our different approaches, whether it be a 90-day campaign all the way to a 3 or a 5-year campaign, there's a full breadth of options. And we know there's uniqueness that your parishes need and different situations that you might be in. So we want to make sure we craft the right approach and investment for the right return and effort that's needed for your parishes to be successful. That way they can get through the capital. And we know that honestly, capital campaigns probably need to happen every 8 or 10 years at most parishes, just to keep them ahead of the game and not be doing debt campaigns. We've seen that time and time again, where parishes just get in a hole and then they want to run a campaign just to get out of debt, which isn't fun for anybody, to be honest. I think Ray could probably say that a debt campaign is not the most enjoyable thing to try to get through. So once again, we are going to take some time here, probably 15 minutes. We're about 20 till 1. If you want to hang out, I've got you divided into some breakout rooms. We're going to have OSV leaders there where you can talk amongst yourselves, share some successes, share some failures, share some struggles with each other in those rooms, and think about how we can get out of where we are today and take that next step to really create and believe that there is another version for each one of us out there. But I want to take some time here to thank you for sharing this much time with us today. Get into these breakout rooms. We'll come back at the end, maybe share a couple highlights out of each room, one from each room, and then set the tone for tomorrow. We'll be talking with Archdiocese of Kansas City and their approach to helping their parishes succeed in the offertory world. And then we'll do just an open forum group discussion. We can share successes. We can share examples. So if you want to bring PDFs or anything tomorrow to share with a group about something you want to celebrate or an approach, feel free to do that. I'll be glad to put you in that group. So recording, yes, we will get this. It is being recorded, so we'll share that after it's done. We'll post that and share the link so you can then share this recording out to other folks or rewatch it and maybe see if you missed something.